Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to look at loose graded vintage Star Wars figures. We've got UKG, CAS, and AFA items, I believe. And towards the end of the video, I do have some bootlegs and a removable rocket Lili Ledy Boba Fett sold on eBay, which is, I don't remember the last time I've seen one on eBay that has sold. I've seen a few for sale, but this price was pretty hefty, but I think a fair price. So let's go ahead and start with some UKG items. The Muffin Man had some very nice items for sale that looked like they sold pretty quick. This was a UKG 90% gold level Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider. So that's a very high grade. And you can see there he's got the Hollow Cheeks, the Hong Kong COO, and it was a 90. And usually when they're 90s, they do tend to go for a big number, and this one was no exception. 695 pounds was a buy it now price, and it did sell, which is $877. And, you know, I think personally, if you, let's say CIB put on for auction an AFA 90 Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider, I bet it would sell for double whatever this is, you know, this $877. I bet it would be $1,500 plus. That's a guess. I just feel like it's so hard to get a 90 AFA, but a UKG 90, you know, are they maybe a little looser and laxer in their grading? Probably, but it looks like a, you know, it looks like a high grade example. Look at the tusks and the eyes and everything. The silver paint on these just comes off so easily, and all it takes is one little nick to prevent it from getting such a high grade. But this one looks literally like a perfect figure. I can't see anything wrong with it at all. So I can understand why it got the 90. I think it would have a really good chance. Let's say you broke it out and you sent it into AFA. I think it's got a good chance at an AFA 85 plus for sure. So that's a very, very clean example of the Tusken Raider Hollow Cheeks. And I'll have to remember this price for when the next AFA example comes up for auction here in the U.S., because I would be curious to see what an AFA 85 or 85 plus or, you know, a 90. I don't even know if there is a 90 on the population report, but I would imagine it would be pretty significantly higher than that price. The other one that he had that I really liked, I sent this out to my Patreons. I don't know if one of y'all bought it or not, but it sold pretty quick after I sent it out. This is the YPS Hoth Stormtrooper. So it's got that alternate G.I. Joe style weapon. These were packed in a, or yips. I don't know how you pronounce it. Somebody was yelling at me in the comments saying I'm mispronouncing it. But anyway, this was packed in that magazine, that German magazine. I call it YPS. You guys can call it whatever you want. Don't dog me, all right? I don't know everything about this stuff. This is a Spanish figure, by the way. This has got the double scar. No COO, double scar. So anytime you got that scar COO, I consider that to be the Spanish PvP figure. And look how bright white it is. Usually those Spanish PvP figures for the Hoth Stormtrooper, they yellow really easily, especially the torso piece. But this one was bright white. And I'm assuming this is what it still looks like, you know. You could make an argument that maybe this photo has got a flash going or something like that. But it does look pretty bright white to me. And that one sold for 395 pounds, which is $498. That to me seems like a very fair price. I've seen them in lower grade go, you know, sub that number, you know, below $500. In lower grade, 350 to 450, even on Facebook, is pretty doable. So I think for an a UKG 85 for that particular figure, 500 seems to be a fair number to me. And that one looks every bit of an 85. Same, no, this is Treasures from the Attic. Treasures from the Attic had another Spanish PvP figure. This was the No COO partial scar. So again, the YPS figure, again, I don't know if the YPS Stormtrooper had a double scar and it came with some other like single scars, things like that. But this one's labeled No COO double scar. This one is a No COO partial scar. So there's lots of different slight variations to the Spanish PvP Hoth Stormtrooper. So this has got the standard weapon, obviously, and a partial scar for the COO. UKG 85% with 290 subscores. And that one sold for 185 pounds, which is $233. Really good deal. And here was a Hong Kong Stormtrooper, UKG 85. That one sold for $183. Again, a very fair price. This is another one I sent out, and I wanted to buy it myself, to be honest with you, but I didn't do it. This is the China Raised Bar COO for Leia Bespin. I feel like this is a really tough variant to track down. The China COO Leia Bespin. I've seen in the last year maybe 2 or 3 others that we've seen and talked about on the channel, but they've all been UKG graded. I don't know if I've seen an AFA graded China COO in the last year. It's just a very, I don't know why that is. You would think it would be very plentiful because they came on Return of the Jedi card bags, right? The China COO were on a lot of Return of the Jedi figures. And for whatever reason, this particular China COO figure character is just tough to find. And this one sold for 210 pounds, which is $265. I remember one going at auction that was a UKG 85 China that sold for over $400. So, and that was a while ago, admittedly, but you know, it was within the last year and a half. And because I was bidding on it, I remember I was bidding on it, and it just blew past any expectations for what I thought it would go for. This is kind of more what I would consider to be fair market value, if not even below fair market value. $250 to $300, I'd be willing to pay that. But so I almost bought it. But I've been really good. I'm almost at, as of the making of this video, I'm almost at 3 months without buying anything. So it's been hard. It's been really hard. Next up, this was in the US. This was a custom cased mini rig with the character or figure that appeared on the packaging. And the UKG does a nice job with these. I used to have a few of these. This is the Indoor Forest Ranger with the Rebel Commando. The Indoor Forest Ranger got an 80. The Rebel Commando got an 80. The Rebel Commando got an 80 because the torso's yellowing. You can see that the arms and legs versus the torso. That's a common defect for the Rebel Commando. It was a China, most of them are China COO painted face. And that's just what most of them are. And versus the China COO for the Leia Bespin, it's hard to find. Whereas the Rebel Commando, they're almost all China painted faces. There are some other, you know, there's like I think there's a molded face China. I believe there's a Hong Kong. I know there's a no COO. You know, so there are some other COOs or variants for the Rebel Commando, but the most common is this one, the painted face China. And that one usually does yellow on the torso for whatever reason. So even though these were only 80s, that still sold for $311 because the Indoor Forest Ranger as a mini rig is one of the more expensive ones. I actually kind of like the way it looks too. It looks like something out of like Avatar or Aliens. It looks like a, you know, galactic marine, you know, shooting a vehicle they used to shoot aliens, or Starship Trooper or something. I don't know what it is. It's a very goofy looking vehicle, but I like it. Next up was a CAS 80 Plus Blue Snags. This one sold in a buy it now for $815, kind of right in line with market, if you ask me. Most of them go $750 to $900, you know, in that ballpark for that grade range. This was my buddy Dustin's. This was an apple-headed Yoda. I did send this out to my Patreons. I don't know if one of y'all bought it or not, but it was an apple-headed Yoda graded CAS 85, and we just talked about a couple of AFA 85 apple-headed Yodas that sold for over $1,000. So this one was priced at $795, and it did sell. It might have. I think I've received an offer at $700 from Dustin for it. So I don't know if one of y'all paid $795 or $700. It says $795 for in the database, but he did put an offer out there for $700, which is a very good deal relative to the AFA 85 that just sold on eBay for like $1050, if memory serves. Next up was a CAS 85 Plus Tauntaun. That one sold for $700. That's a big number. I mean, you know, you start talking about the graded mint and sealed box Tauntauns, that goes in that $700 to $900 range. So I'm surprised this one sold so high, but it is a beautiful display piece. High grade, obviously. Tough to get an 85 Plus in anything related to the Tauntaun, mainly because the reins can crack and things like that. But that's a really cool display. Is it worth $700? It's probably a little high to me, but it certainly is an awesome display piece. Next up was just a standard AFA 85 archival case Luke Hoth. But man, I don't know if you remember, there was a seller about a year and a half ago on eBay. He had all 85s, and they were all archival cases, all brand new case styles. And it was the first time I've seen an AFA 85 Luke Hoth at auction on eBay in a while. And that one ended up going for over $400. It might have been $450 to $480, somewhere in that ballpark, which I wouldn't pay that. But, you know, you think about that versus this one, it sold for $150, $250. I mean, that's a significant price drop in about 18 months. And this is maybe closer to, this is even a little bit low, but I think it went low because of the scuffing around the crotch area. So is it really an 85 relative maybe to one that's super clean? And clearly the market said that, hey, this probably got overgraded, or it has scuffed or degraded inside the case since grading. My guess is it probably just slipped through the grading. It should have been an 80 or an 80 plus, and it got the 85, but probably a little generous on the score given the paint scratches to the figure. Next up, this was a beauty. This was a Clipper catalog Darth Vader graded uncirculated 90. And this seller took $500 for it. It was listed at auction, but the buyer made an offer and he did accept at $500. I would argue that that was a bargain. I mean, I've seen AFA 85s, U85s on Facebook go for $700 plus for this particular baggie. The Clipper Dutch Amsterdam Clipper Benelux baggie. It's a mail away that is very desirable now. And I've got an AFA U85. This was a U90 in all fairness, which is tough to get on anything baggy related, especially because the box is factored in, right? If you look at the subscores, the box, the wrapper, and the figure. So the box got a 90, figure 90, wrapper 85. They gave it the 90 overall. And it's, again, because you're grading the box, because the box score goes into the overall score, it's just really tough to get a 90 on anything mail away related. So $500, in my opinion, was too low, but that's what the seller took for it. They took $500 for that. That's a bargain. Next up was a U90 Imperial Gunner. This is a good candidate to send back in to get recased, because I think a U90 is pretty high on the population report. I imagine there's not many 95s on the population report, and it's a U90 as well. So really good candidate to send in to be regraded, especially because it only sold for $350, which I think is too low. But because it's the older case style, maybe people are whoever bought it probably is going to get it recased, and you're taking some grading risk that it doesn't get the 90 because this was like the oldest of the old case styles where they didn't even have the dowels going around the neck, so it does kind of bounce around inside the case. Very high probability that it may not get, maybe not high probability, but there is a significant probability that it doesn't get the 90 when you resubmit it to AFA for the updated case style. So $350 though, to me, seems like a good deal to roll the dice on it. Worst case, you come back with a U85 or U85 plus. On to some bootlegs. A lot of these got relisted by Gold Star Tech. Maybe the buyer didn't pay. But this was the 1990s Mexican bootleg Greedo with the purple Palace Blaster. That sold for $338. This one got relisted as well. This is a very tough to find variant of the Polish bootleg 9-num in blue with silver boots and gloves. It's just a really tough color combo. 85 plus, that one sold for $338. That's a bargain. No way I'd sell mine for that, as I've mentioned the first time this was listed. So whoever got that, great deal there. Here is that Stealth Biker Scout again. That one sold for $338 as well. This one finally came back down to earth. This is like the third time it got relisted, or at least the second time. The first time it sold for like $2,200, and I was like, that's insane. There's no way it's worth that. And of course, whoever bid that did not pay. So they relisted it and it sold for closer to fair market value, which is $811. $700 to $800 is about right for what that is. A CAS 85 third generation Polish bootleg Boba Fett. So $811, that's fair market value. Here is the Biker Scout with pistol. That one was another later generation Polish bootleg, probably a second generation from early 1990s is my guess, just looking at the paint on that one. That one sold for $471.66, probably about right. And then a different seller had some unarticulated 1980s examples. That was a bargain at $115 for the General Lando. It was only a CAS 70, but most of these unarticulated examples are pretty rough shape because they were from the 80s, and the paint doesn't stay on them very well. So $115 though, that's a good deal. That's a really good deal there. And then they had another blue unarticulated 9 that one sold for $255. Again, that one went a little bit higher because that's a tough color combo. This was a 1990s third generation Luke X-Wing Polish bootleg that sold for $255. It was a CAS 75 plus. Here was the big one though that I wanted to cover. So this seller had a Lili Ledy used card back, an AFA 80 plus normal Lili Ledy Boba Fett, and then an AFA 75 removable rocket Lili Ledy Boba Fett, archival case, brand new case style. And he had them all listed for $8,000, which I actually think that's a very fair deal. Just the card back can often go for over $1,000. I've seen this Lili Ledy card back on Facebook go for $2,000, believe it or not. The AFA 80 plus normal Lili Ledy Boba Fett, that's exactly what I have. I have an AFA 80 plus. Mine's got the new case style. That's worth about $800. So if you take the card back, let's say conservatively the card back's $1,000. It's really more like double that, but let's say it's $1,000. And then let's say the Lili Ledy 80 plus is about $800, maybe $900. So you're basically, for an AFA 75 removable rocket Lili Ledy, you're paying about $600 to $6,500 for it, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. If not, maybe even less than $600, really, when you factor in everything. So let's say with taxes and everything, you're paying about $6,500 for an AFA 75 removable rocket Lili Ledy Boba Fett. That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. Chris over at Rogue 5 Toys, he had, I want to say, an AFA 85 for that removable rocket, and it sold for 5 figures. It was over $10,000. It might have been closer to 15. So to get a 75 grade for, let's call it $6,500 after taxes and everything, that to me seems like a really good deal. So as crazy as it sounds, this lot of 3 for $8,000, which I did confirm that that's what the buyer paid based on the data on 130point.com. That's a good deal. That's a very, very fair deal. And I think if anything, you're probably a little bit low, to be honest. Finally was an AFA 80 plus vinyl cape Jawa new case style. That one sold for $2,700. Again, probably about right. You could maybe make an argument that it might be $100 or $200 or $300 too high, but to me, it's probably in the ballpark. It's unfortunate the cape's kind of flowing open, but it is what it is. But that's a really pretty. It's on the upper end of what an 80 plus is worth right now. Vinyl cape Jawas, as we've talked about in past videos, they have come back down to earth in price. For a while there, an 85 was $4,500, $4,000, but it's been slowly kind of coming back down in price a little bit. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave me a like. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.